Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
Because you always just that active red line, defending. I think it's like.
We live, people deluded. I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. One love to the Twitch gang. I hope everyone's well and safe. Let me invite BUJ into this. And yeah, man, right on time. What are you saying, bro? I see you out here with the attire and all sorts.
Bro, always got to be on point, man. Always, bro. I know I'm coming on your channel. I got to come correct, innit? You get me?
I love it, man. You're Mr. Superstar. I mean, can I get Murtasaka's autograph, please?
100, man, bro. What you saying anyway, man? What's good?
I'm there, man. I got my health. I can't complain. Hopefully, you and your loved one have got yours, man. I mean, international break was over. I know there's an elephant in the room.
Of course.
Bro, what happened yesterday, man? Let's just jump into it, man. You know what? It's a matter.
Bro, it's sometimes it's so difficult to like take your emotions away from things and just be objective. Do you know what I mean? And even like coming on here today, I was thinking to myself, it's so easy for me to just get emotional and so on and so forth. But obviously that's not constructive. So I've got to try as best as I can to like
wheel it in and
just wheel it in a little bit and just look at things as objectively as I can without any kind of emotion or feeling about, you know, what I feel at this point in time. Just take my emotions away from it and just look at what it is on paper, black and white in front of me. You get me?
What would you say that is?
I would say the first thought that comes to my mind is there's far too much wrong with the team at this point in time to blame individual players. Like, of course, we can say the goals that we conceded yesterday were largely down to individual errors. I feel like, you know, on a game by game basis, you can have a handful of players that have bad games, but when the whole team isn't performing, you can't just look at individual errors. It's something systematically wrong with the team. If you're saying if wherever you look on the team, from front to back and back to front, no one had a good game. Like it's not possible that, you know, it's anything but a systematic issue. If everyone had no one had a good game, like the chances of that being down to individual errors is not down to the players. It's down to the fact that we're not being set up in a way that's getting the most out of the whole and entire team. And I think the one thing that is most worrying for me above all else is the fact that there are some positive signs here and there, like glimmers of positive things happening here and there, but it's not consistent enough, and it's not on a prolonged and sustained period.
One sec, bro. Is it my mic or I don't know? Let's retry the. I don't know if we're hitting mics or echoing.
Thing, innit, where I think I'm moving around too much.
Sorry, folks, if there's any of that. One love to you, lot. You notified me. I don't know. It's calm for people.
You know, let me know if it's still sounding like that now.
I mean, P-Mav is saying it's calm, man. I don't want you to lose your trail of thought, man. I was taking in everything you said, man. Go and get back on the train, bro.
Yeah, man. So it's like there's too much that's going wrong for it to be individual errors. It's definitely got to be systematic. It's the way that the team's being set up, and it just feels like there are too many periods within games where we see them and we look like we don't know what we're doing.
Look like you.
Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, and of course we know with the fact that the team is relatively inexperienced and there's a lot more younger, less experienced players within the team, you're gonna get games where that lack of experience shows, right? And in some instances yesterday, we can say that was the case. We saw just how novice we were in terms of the way that we were
Facts.
set up defensively. You see what I'm saying?
All
Like,
aspects, I would say,
yeah,
man. Forget
exactly.
even when we was a goal up, bro. 5 minutes before the end of the half, bro. You're spot on in that.
You see what I'm saying? So there's going to be instances like that. But that being said, it's still there's still something that's not quite right. Like you can take certain positives in terms of the way that we started the game. It was similar to our approach against Spurs when we were basically flying out the blocks from the off, and the teams don't really know how to answer what we're throwing at them to begin with. But obviously, playing the game at that pace is something that we can't sustain for the whole game. When we ain't got the facilities for that, we're not our players aren't fit enough to do that and sustain that.
Facts.
But my worry is, okay, at the point that we then start to drop physically and we can't sustain that level of let's start managing the game. And it's like we don't know how to transition from flying out the blocks and hitting teams with everything that we've got to now managing the game. Like, I don't know if that is being communicated to the players effectively enough from Arteta. I don't know if there are players who are willing to take that responsibility on the pitch to manage that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Let me ask you that. Would you say it's the players though? Because to be fair, I agree with you. I think it's a two-way street. I think players need to ask themselves the right questions and they need to manage themselves. But also everything's a reflection of the gaffer. Who do you put that down to? Because I do think, like you said, with individual mistakes, yeah, it was Lokonga and Partey throughout the course of this season, and so far it's been other individuals. So mistakes happen. I'm not excusing that, but the whole culture around making mistakes and not caring about the hard graft, who would you put that down to? Because, like you said, it doesn't matter if you've won trophies or got promoted or whatever. You need an element of street smartness. And I said it earlier. I think genuinely we behave like youths, like from start to finish. We only know going forward. Like you said, no one asks them the right questions. So is that down to Arteta to promote more street smartness, or is it down to the players? Because I say that, you look at the sense of our attacking, you look at the fact that we're pressing alone. I don't think the players, they might look for the right answers, but they don't ask themselves the right questions. So is it down to Arteta or the players then? Because there was experience out there yesterday, and arguably it was the experienced ones letting us down. You know, the Madrid, Aubameyang was all right, but the two Madrid guys in Partey and Odegaard, etc., etc.
Yeah, do you know what? I would say it's a bit of both, but it's more in favor of Arteta. So he has to fundamentally, he has to create that. He has to be the one who instills that within the team, and the players then need to respond to that. But they can't respond to it if the mandate isn't clear enough, right? And by way of comparison, I look at a team like Manchester City, right? The direction comes from Pep Guardiola, and he has established a leadership team, right? So whatever his message is to the players on a whole is conveyed through those particular players on the pitch. So you've got Fernandinho, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, you've got Ruben Diaz, you've got a handful of players who right, this is going to be the overarching strategy and way we're going to go about doing things. And then I'm going to look to you guys, you handful of players.
You lot are the players. I can't hold your hand when you cross the line. Yeah,
exactly. So you're responsible for making sure that message is conveyed on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? When it's time to, right, we're going to sit in a little bit. We're going to soak up a bit of pressure. Each one do X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth.
Start conceding some fouls.
Exactly that, right? But when you look at Arsenal, we don't really have that. Like, who is in our leadership team?
This is it.
Who is our team of?
You see little bits and pieces with that, bro. Because you see Ramsdale do it here and there. You see Tierney. Yeah. It might not look like on the TV, but whenever I've seen Ben White live, he actually opens his mouth. Now, like you said, I think the best footballers ask themselves the best questions. Them footballers you named are fantastic. There's a golfing class clearly, but away from them being pretty footballers, they understand things. And I think considering that Arteta came from Man City, there's not enough emphasis on killing games, on soaking up pressure, not necessarily with the ball. I'm talking about simply the dark arts of the game, conceding fouls, taking yellows, because I'm not going to lie, I think statistically we're up for all of that under Arteta, but I don't see it. Like even Lokonga, I don't permit cheating, but he's lost the ball. And if you look at the build up to it, you can't just pull the man down. Like the move is dead there. Just you effed up, pull him down, the move is dead. And I don't know if they know this. Now, I think the players, me and you have never kicked a professional ball. We can kind of understand that. So these players should be able to. But then again, I look at Arteta, man. It's mad, bro.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you know what's funny about the whole dark arts thing is that we try to be so clean and squeaky clean with our image and promoting the whole, honest and clean way of playing ball. But every single team that plays against us knows that we're gonna take that approach, and they take the opposite approach. We've seen it on so many occasions already this season where man are doing dark arts against us. People are getting elbowed, pushed, punched
Saka's
in their
legs
face.
got booted off yesterday as well.
You know what I'm saying? Because, and the thing about it is because these guys, these teams know that they can do it against us. They know that they can bully us because we've got that soft underbelly. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't have that rugged, rough street smarts about us to deal with it. And it's like when teams get at us and they start to be aggressive in that kind of way, we don't really have an answer for it. It's like we kind of start to crumble a little bit under the pressure. Do you see what I'm saying? And we start to lose our heads and lose our way of playing and whatnot because we don't really know how to combat that. Yeah, 100%. And you saw that again yesterday, man. It was all about the hustle and bustle. The game was really won in the midfield. Like their players, their midfield was just at it. The way that they pressed us, people like Conor Gallagher, Andre Ayew,
didn't even miss Zaha and Ize and them.
They didn't. It was all about the hustle. Yesterday's game was all about the hustle. They just out hustled us. You see what I'm saying? They were a bit more streetwise, and that's how they managed to do us over.
I mean, if we specify that game a bit more, obviously, what was your overriding feelings of it? Because I know, obviously, you've touched and dabbled on it. What do you make of the game? Because you said a great point. It's a very, they look like a very street smart side. They doubled down on what they're good at and maximized it. Now, to be respectful to Crystal Palace, I also feel they did their thing. They mixed it around. They played good football, Edouard, all of that stuff. But there's a lot of questions. Me and you've been asking the question of Arteta. I don't know what the final narrative is going to be for Vieira. It's only been 8 games, but it appears that he's been there 2 seconds. Statistically, they're holding on to the ball more. They're playing like how he used to play football. The guy who put in a foot in with playing good football. I look at Arteta. There's been dribs and drabs of it, but you've been here 22 months. You would have thought Vieira would have been the manager that's been at Palace longer. You would have thought Vieira would have been the team that's technically 100%. Fresher. That it has their full side. So where are you at with the game and the overall street smartness in that game as well, man? Because it weren't a tough watch. It weren't the worst ever thing, but it was. There's no positives for me, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Do you know what? Going back to like even before the game kicked off and looking at the lineups. So initially, my thing was.
What did you feel of the lineup as well, for what it's worth?
So I was first thinking, right, that the most key battle on the pitch was going to be between Tomiyasu and Zaha, and how Tomiyasu would deal with Zaha, especially after the fact that he didn't have the greatest game versus Cucurella against Brighton before the international break, right? And then I see that Zaha's not playing, and whilst a lot of people felt like, oh right, okay, Zaha not playing means that they've not got their best player, so it should be a guaranteed win for us. I then saw that Benteke was playing up front. That made me worried because I was thinking, well, if he's done his homework, bro, PTSD from Brentford. If he's done his homework and Vieira's done his homework from that Brentford game, getting the ball into Benteke and him knocking it down. If Edouard's playing close to him or Ayew's playing close to him,
the first and second balls, fam.
First and second balls, that could cause us a lot of problems, and that was what I was worried about. And I think you mentioned it a bit earlier on in terms of the whole lack of experience and not knowing how to deal with things like properly because of the inexperience. We had instances where we didn't know when to step up and when to close the gap,
when to stick or twist, yeah,
or
100%.
when to drop off. It was like the decision making was really, really bad. So the times where we were supposed to drop off a little bit, we got too tight, and the times that we were supposed to get tight, we dropped off. And I
What
think,
would you? Sorry to cut you. Hold that thought. But what would you say on that? Because again, I only asked you because you made a visual start playing in my head. Is it the players or is it Arteta? Because maybe if he's giving you information and then you're not taking it on for that incident you said, maybe it's a different thing. But maybe if he's sitting quiet and the players don't know what's going on, is that a way as why we look so disillusioned? A couple players are doing one thing and then the others are doing the other, off the back of what you just said.
I still put it down to Arteta, man, and I think part of me feels like we don't do enough scenario-based training.
Trust me,
it still feels like everything is too perfect. Like everything has to be so spot on. Like his approach,
it can't
and
be a
his
spanner in the
style,
works.
there can't be. Like it never compensates for any errors or any issues. It's like it's based on the most perfect scenarios.
Could
And
you
I
imagine
feel
if he
like,
was the professor in that? What's that show on Netflix, man, where they try to rob the bank? Man? That's what,
Money Heist, isn't it?
yeah, you see when things are going wrong, he'll be in trouble,
Yeah.
fam. He needs to move like that, bro.
This is the problem, and I feel like what we need to do more is we need to do more scenario based training where it's like the chips are down, things are up
Defending
against
outnumbered
us.
in that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that should be the staple for our defense. Anytime in training, they should always be outnumbered. It should always be like, you see what I'm saying? Like a man down or something's not going our way, because it just seems as though when the chips are down and things are difficult for us, it's really, really hard for us to like to manage those situations. You see what I'm saying? And it's again, the goals that we conceded yesterday, or the times that Palace had a lot of success, it just seemed like we just didn't know the right thing to do in response to what was happening right
Look at
in
the high
front of us.
line, bro. You could see they were going to counter attack, even in the first half. Like I keep reiterating the fire example. It's like we keep putting our hands in the fire, and you're complaining that your fingers are hurting. It's not making sense. Like in the first half, when we went a goal up, they reacted quite well, and they had chances. So my thinking would have been, all right, cool, let's sit in, let's manage the game. There's not even when I think Saka or Smith Rowe, one of them's fouled. Now they're young and naive. Why are you in a rush to take it? Someone senior needs to say, calm down, frustrate them. If you can frustrate them because they're actually gambling, we might get a second. So I think we kind of struggled in that regards. And I think the warning signs were there, like, we're very high. You don't want to get caught in a foot race. Like even Benteke, he's relatively paced against us. I think you could see these things coming. It's like, do you think, I mean, like you said, with scenario-based training, do you feel we're doing enough working on professional fouls? Or I'd say the importance of it, because it is as important as scoring a goal, really.
Definitely not. Definitely not. There is definitely not emphasis on that side of the game. I personally, obviously, we're not in a training. We're not at a training grounds. We're not at Colney. We don't know what happens day in and day out. But all we can go off is what we see. And for me, if there was emphasis on those things, we'd see it. We'd see that imprint in the actual game. You see what I'm saying? And I want to go back to a point that you made just then, yeah, when you were talking about there being senior professionals to communicate and do certain things, right, and rein things in and so on and so forth. This is the worry for me, because you would typically look to the spine of the team for people or a person to do that, right? I still feel like, well, obviously, right, Gabriel is still learning the language. I think maybe in years to come, when he's more experienced, he may take on that role. But for now, I don't see him taking on that responsibility. Ben White, for me, doesn't seem like someone who can be.
They're working Urban Outfitters, man.
You see what I'm saying? He's not.
He's
really
just happy, bro.
And he just needs to focus on his game, because he still seems a bit nervy and edgy to me, right? So you can't have a man who's not convinced or assured within their own game barking out orders. It don't work, right? Aubameyang is too far forward to see enough of the game to be able to make any real calls, and I don't think he's not really a vocal person anyway, right? I don't think he doesn't strike me as someone who is very tactical or someone who is very analytical about the game. For me personally, right? He doesn't strike me as that kind of person. And of course, he's playing with the game like but behind him.
Yeah, behind him. Yeah, of course.
We can't really see anything.
You've only got Ramsdale opening his mouth.
Exactly, right? And then aside from Ramsdale, the only other person you have is Partey. I don't know. The thing is, Partey really should be that guy, right? He's the guy that everyone looks to. He's the one that everyone knows is one of, if not the best player in the team, right? And he's experienced enough to take that responsibility. But my question is Partey willing to? Is he willing to take on that mantle, that responsibility?
Did he need to at Atletico? I'm not discrediting it, but that's a good point, because when you look around, you see Saul, you see all of these guys. Is it that? And I wanted to ask you a question on that with Partey. Are we trying to make Partey out to be this messiah? Because obviously the jury's still out, but I feel when a man signs for Arsenal for a variety of things, we start blurring the lines. We start saying he can do this, he can do that. Like he's a quality player, but he's not a complete player. He's a ball-winning midfielder, box to box. That's it. Now I'm seeing man try to do the shooting thing, try to do the passing thing. I'm not saying he doesn't need to do that, but he's looking mad. Now, a few weeks ago, I was sitting there and I still maintain it. He looks better without Xhaka, but probably this season he's looked better with him as equally. So it's like, as much as I feel we need a new partner for Partey, and there's still, midfield hasn't been solved. And as you said greatly, there's a big emphasis on until we save that, there's an issue. Does Partey, is his IQ as strong as we might think it is? Are we demanding a bit too much of him? Because you kind of said it there, because we need him to be a leader. I see Odegaard open his mouth as well, but it's like, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I don't have a clue.
You know what? I think is the second thing that you said. I think we're placing so much responsibility on his shoulders, and I think he's starting to feel that. I think he's starting to see his importance in this team, and he's starting to feel like he needs to overcompensate. Even yesterday, after because he was at fault for the first goal, right? He was at fault for the first goal. What I noticed in his game is that it seemed as though he started feeling as though he had to overcompensate and do even more to try and make up for the fact that he conceded that goal.
Just hold your L,
exactly. So it was after that he was trying to shoot more. It was after that he was trying to speed up the tempo at which he was playing and passing the ball as well. And I feel like that in some ways can work against us, you know, having too much responsibility on him or him feeling as though he needs to do too much. Now it's not just him defending and cleaning up and passing the ball from deep midfield to high midfield. It's him needing now to contribute with goals and assists and all that sort of stuff. I feel like it's a bit too much, and what we need to do is go back to simplifying his role a bit more and him focusing on a particular role, right? And then other players doing certain things. And I think also, and going back to the point I made earlier about the whole structural thing, when the structure is not right, people start doing things that they're not supposed to do and not doing their role. And then as a consequence, everyone looks worse than what they are. So
everyone starts doing calamities,
exactly. And because of the fact that we didn't really know when we should push up and when we should drop off or whatever, it meant at times that Odegaard started coming very
even
deep.
Him, we'll get on to him. Don't say anything on him yet, but even him, he's looking like, is he trying to do an 8 or a 10? It's like what you said. I don't know for collectively what we tried to do yesterday, because as you said perfectly, you do see little bits and pieces to make you think that, okay, something's being built here. As much as we criticize Arteta, let's not be naive. He's not gone out there and not giving them some tactics, but it does look like people are disillusioned, you know. Again, it was hit and miss with Partey and Odegaard, but it's like, for me, Odegaard's trying to be an 8 and a 10. He doesn't know I have to be a bit more withdrawn today. Partey's on his ones. Tierney, I don't quite know what's going on there. Tomiyasu started well and then fizzled out. It's like Pepe's playing as a right wing back for me. Aubameyang's pressing on his J's. I'm actually seeing Smith Rowe pop up on the right-hand side more often than not. Saka seems like he don't really know what's going on. So it's like, if you're not got a collective game plan and there's no clarity there, one thing that can save you is if man to a man, everyone understands their job. And it didn't necessarily look like that. Like the centre halves, I don't think they were terrible yesterday, and I think they were dealt a short hand, but they were kind of dealt short because of the mistakes we've made in the run against play. So it's like, is anyone assured of anything? It appears only Ramsdale, because I mean, it's pretty hard to not know you're a goalie. I got to stay in this box sort of thing.
Yeah, no, bro, I can only agree with you. That's exactly the way that it seems. It feels as though no one is completely clear on what their role is. I think we're now clear on our formation, and I think now everyone is pretty clear on who the starting 11 is. But on individual roles, what I am supposed to be doing in my role in this scenario, what am I supposed to be doing? How do I react to this?
They don't.
That level of detail, I don't think people know, and I still think there's still too much chopping and changing in certain areas, which also offsets that and which also influences that. Like, again, in terms of the starting 11 yesterday, me personally, I don't think Pepe is good enough to justify playing Saka out of his best position. We've already established that Saka plays best and is most impactful on the right-hand side. For me, what Pepe brings to the game from the right-hand side doesn't justify playing Saka on the left. I would rather play Saka on the left and play Pepe on the right. And part of the reason for that, again, is the way that the rest of the team is structured, right? So the way that we are structured is that Tomiyasu doesn't really need to get forward and support with attacks.
He's meaty in that regards, but you're right.
Exactly, right? And the thing about it is, I think he also understands his limitations. He knows that
That's one thing I love about footballers. Know what you can and can't do.
He knows what he can and can't do. He's a man who's going to win aerial duels. He's going to win challenges, and he's going to play simple passes into forward players, right? We've got Tierney on the left who bombs forward, right? And that's the way the system works. With Saka playing on the right, we get better combinations because he links up well with Smith Rowe, who comes over sometimes with Odegaard, and he can beat his man one-on-one, get crosses into the box or whatever. So there's more variety in terms of what we can do from the right-hand side when he plays there. The problem with Pepe, if we're going to single out Pepe, is that he doesn't do enough of anything consistently for us to understand, okay, what your angle is on the right-hand side. And so when he plays there, the limitations of Tomiyasu are like highlighted even more because there's not enough build. There's not enough build up from the right hand side when Pepe plays there, right? And so then the expectation is Tomiyasu needs to contribute more going forward and attacking wise, right? And it just leaves him exposed. And so that's why I'm like, nah, Pepe needs to play on the left and Saka needs to play on the right for that very reason. But again, talking about Pepe in particular, if you look at his stats, I saw some stats going around in terms of like what he done yesterday.
He lost the ball a lot of times, but
I think he lost the ball 22 times. I can't remember how many duels he was involved in and he lost, right? And if I'm being objective, like a lot of people might disagree, I'm not even frustrated about how many times he lost the ball or the fact that he didn't challenge for duels, right? I'm not really expecting that from a wide player. I'm not expecting a player to win many duels. Or if you're losing a ball, I think maybe it's because you're trying something
high risk and all them things there.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not coming off. The thing that was most worrying for me is that he only completed 1 out of 6 take-ons, right? You're a winger. Your primary thing that you're supposed to be doing is beating your players 1v1.
Or even Saka off the corner that we eventually did well with Pepe as well.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if you're not doing that, like, okay, you had glimpses, you had periods in the game where you did certain things that came off well. But if your sole or your primary objective you weren't fulfilling, what are you doing? You're not beating your man 1v. And the thing is, one thing I've noticed about Pepe, is that on the first try or first attempt or whatever, he'll beat a player, but instead of like then capitalizing on that and like, let's say, going for the byline or trying to put yourself in a position where you're drawing a foul.
The man on the block. It's time to hit the skillers.
Bro, and he comes back on himself and he's trying to...
he loves it. It's like the random in the cage with the spliff. Like they're doing hella skills. Like they're just showing off.
That's literally it. And I'm just thinking like, you could create so many more effective chances, or you could win so many more free kicks or put us in far more dangerous positions when you beat that player once and then you go for it. or like, you know what I mean? You try and attack the box as quickly.
Let
as
me play
possible.
devil's advocate, bro. Yeah, because to be fair to Pepe, I actually think he done all right yesterday. I wouldn't say he's justified a start against Villa, but I think he took his opportunities. I actually feel, if we're real, there's actually a case to drop Saka and actually go with him. But I feel Saka plays on the right for me. I'd probably put Aubameyang on the left against Villa and Lacazette through the middle. That's how I'm
100%.
feeling. But let me play devil's advocate. Obviously, those 2 goals, they came from Pepe. Like, he's involved in them for all his frustrations. And then when I look at that game, I feel Aubameyang, head and shoulders from all of the starters, did quite well. I feel obviously Lacazette came on, was positive. Martinelli did his thing. And then I feel exactly what you felt with Pepe. There's all the naiveties that Pepe's come with and the frustrations. But then if I look at the narrative being thrown around based on Arsenal fans, it's like Pepe's public enemy #1 based on that game, where I personally feel Tomiyasu was quite poor. Like, I don't necessarily agree with P. Mav here when he says Tommy was left so exposed by Pepe. I think the narrative that he was crap in it was harsh. I actually think there's times for that, but I feel Pepe actually defended quite well and put in the shift purely because I'm looking at it. It's like he's playing as a right wing back. So I feel Tomiyasu was probably poor himself. So what do you make of to play devil's advocate with Pepe and still turning in, having a hand in 2 goals? And what is your thoughts on Tomiyasu's singular performance, really?
I would say I would agree with you. I think you're right in that you can't single out Pepe yesterday and pin our woes or our shortcomings down to him, right? Like I said, the whole team, really, no one played particularly well. So it would be unfair to single out Pepe, particularly because he was involved in both goals, and was probably one of our brightest players, if we're being honest. I think with Pepe, it's more of the on a wider scale. Just generally,
what
he
brings,
could do more, because I feel like Pepe with a higher output and more consistent performances really raises the levels of this team. Him one, he could do that, right? In terms of Tomiyasu, I think we're starting to see now that he's human. Like,
we had
a few games where we're like, "Raw, this man looks like he's something different. Like, we've not seen this in a long time." Do you see what I'm saying? We were seeing, and to be fair, I think it's also because it's true. Like, in terms of our right back, we haven't seen our right back win aerial battles, win challenges. Like,
be consistent, just be competent, know your limitations, as you said earlier. It's crazy.
It's been a long time since we've seen that. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like because of that, we kind of thought, like this was something special because we haven't seen it in such a long time.
Like Tierney initially.
You see what I'm saying? Really, a competent fullback is supposed to be able to deliver that. That's especially a fullback at Arsenal. That should be the standard
for his country. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But I think in recent games where the competition has raised a little bit, and the wingers that he's come up against have been a bit more tricky, we're starting to see, he is human. He is human, and he will need a period of time to adjust. He started well, but he's going to need to acclimatize to the league. He made a few mistakes yesterday that I thought, Tomiyasu, that's a bit basic,
Come on, yeah. Like, because this year might allow you, but if that's Bellerin, it could be a bit different. I can't lie.
Like, you really should have like cleaned this up, or you should have been a bit more intelligent in this situation. You should have cleared your lines, or you shouldn't have tried to overplay your hand a bit too much. You see what I'm saying? This Migos. Sanya's the last right back to win a header.
Yeah, that was killing me. He's right still. He's right.
He's definitely right still. So that's what I'm saying. So we see Tomiyasu do it, and it's like, raw. This guy's the best thing since sliced bread. But in actuality, it's just because our fullbacks haven't done that recently. But I still think he's a good right back. I think he's solid. I think in what we need him to do, he can do it well, and I think he will. I think it's just like I said, a period of adapting, and he's gonna have to just raise his game to like match what he's coming up against in the league now. It's just he's up against better wingers, quicker wingers, more intelligent wingers, and he's just gonna have to adapt to that, man. But I still think he's a good player. I think what we need to do again is we need to understand where man's limitations are, right?
And what they are.
He can do and what he can't do, and we need to try and cover him and protect him in the areas that we know he's not so great at, so he can focus on what he's good at. You see what I'm saying?
You said it there, man. Like, you know, with limitations, clearly, you know, there might be an avenue where Maitland Niles might have to play as a more adventurous right back, or we need to bring in another one. I think for him personally, he's got to improve on the ball, because I'll be honest, it has been mediocre. It is mediocre. Saying that he was involved in the first. The more I look at him, you know, the more I think, has he actually been more nervous than I thought? Because against Norwich, I wouldn't have said he was nervous, but he said after the game I was. You know, against Spurs, there was elements where I thought in fact he could have done better for the Spurs goal. Brighton, tough day at the office. He's only had 2 bad games. I don't know, even bad game. I think, you know what, Palace was what I would say is a bad game. Brighton, you was a 5 out of 10. You just looked like you struggled. That was a bad game for him. So you're right in that regards. I'm not going to turn on I still believe in part. I believe in the bulk of these, the real Arsenal players that we all know are good. I'm not going to turn on them for their last game or this game, but we have to hold it L. Obviously, I want to shoot some other names at you in relation to yesterday. We've covered Pepe. We've spoken on Tomiyasu. Odegaard, because me and you are very passionate when it comes to Smith Rowe and Odegaard, how they can both be used. I think in the last 2 games now, at home to Palace and before that to Brighton, Odegaard's look off the pace, and I think he should have probably learnt from the Brighton game. I don't always have to use both of them. It can be one of the other, and I think Odegaard really looked off it, really. So what do you make on Odegaard's performance? What do you make on Martinelli's cameo as well?
I would say, to start off with Odegaard, this isn't his first bad game. Like, he was really bad against Brighton as well. And he does look a bit off the pace. I think the last game I remember him being particularly good in was the game against Burnley. And I remember us talking about it. And the positive for me in that game was that he played with an air of confidence about him. Like, he was demanding the ball. He was making things
and him in the pivot
happen.
together.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I think part of that was that he wasn't having to play so deep. He was in the final third a lot more, orchestrating things, playing the passes and whatnot, and he was confident in the way that he was playing. And Partey was making those forward passes. It looked like whenever Partey got the ball, he was just looking for him, you know.
But clarity, you could say, like what you said at the start, clarity over positions. You get the ball, you pass it to Odegaard. That's your primary objective. But go on, bro.
Yeah, 100%, man. And so it worked in that game. Since then, things have seemed to slow down a little bit and stagnated a little bit. And I think Odegaard perhaps is another case in point of a player who doesn't quite know or isn't sure of what he should be doing all the time.
Facts.
And I think his performances have reflected that, and they've dropped off because of that, you know. And so, if we're being honest and if we're being objective, he really shouldn't start the next game.
I'd go with that.
He shouldn't, to be honest, against Villa. And I just don't know what it is. I don't know what is missing. I don't know what's lacking, but he's been off the pace a little bit. So I think a short spell on the sidelines might just help him out, to be honest.
Right, pick up the bum to improve.
Exactly. And playing Smith Rowe, where Odegaard would typically play. Again, with Smith Rowe, I've seen like positive signs here and there. The one thing yesterday, man, he should have. I think there's a big spotlight on him at the moment in terms of his final ball. I remember even this morning seeing like a thread on instances in games so far this season where his final ball and his decision making hasn't quite been good enough.
Yeah,
I put that down to inexperience, to be honest. I don't think that it's because he doesn't have it in his locker.
It's just the levels.
It's just the levels. I think over time you're going to see his decision making improve, his final ball improve, and he's going to add that to his game. I have no doubt about that. I've seen enough of Emil Smith Rowe to see that he's a man who is, that it's just going to be one of those things that he adds to his game as he matures and develops. You see what I'm saying? But there's enough there for me to see that this is a guy who can be a very, very important player for us. Like the way that he changes the pace of the game, and he will like maybe sometimes do something unexpected, like move the ball in a different direction or take a touch.
Getting them little pockets.
Take a touch which draws players into him, for example. Stuff like that. I feel like those are things that are like instinctive that you can't really teach, and he's got that. So it's just now about, okay, when I now create that extra half a yard of space, or I get into this position now, decision making.
Would you say it's down to the change of thought? Because I look at Salah, I look at Alexis at Arsenal under Wenger when he was a number 9. I look at Sterling. Now, when you listen to how they speak about how they've changed their game to get more goals, and just how a lot of players under Pep talk, I do believe in life, rather than seek answers, you need to learn how to ask yourselves the right questions. Like Raheem Sterling once upon a time might have said, why am I not scoring? You know, and then after that, how can I start scoring more? My point of that is, I think Arteta is, but do you think he's thought-provoking or the Emil Smith Rowe? Because it's not always a thing where you watch things back. It's almost like, okay, when I get the ball in X area, can I look for X, Y, Z? Now, I think I discount a lot of our failures in stuff like Smith Rowe because it don't look like we have a plan in the final third. But are they asked the right questions? Could I say even Saka as well? Like, if I'm honest, you know, Saka's productivity needs to be a lot better. And there's a lot of chances I'm like, that's a bit meaty. I was refraining from saying Grealish, but I see comparisons. I don't know if he's going to be that level, but it took Grealish a while to really do this. You know, only in the last 18 months, maybe 2 years, has the wider footballing community accepted that Jack Grealish is an effing baller, if I'm completely honest. So it happens. And he's still, what, 26? It happens, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know what? When I think about it, I can't say with confidence that those questions are being asked, or those players in Saka and Emil Smith Rowe are being encouraged to ask those questions, right? Purely because often after games, right, those two are, I would say, frequently the players that do interviews for us, right? More time, if I think about after games when players are being interviewed, I can recall Saka being interviewed, I can recall Emil Smith Rowe being interviewed, I can recall Ramsdale being interviewed, right? Rarely do I see interviews from other players, but the way that those players answer questions, you can tell who's actively thinking like that. Like for me, Ramsdale is a player who asks himself those questions. He doesn't wait for others to ask him that. And I can tell by the way that he analyzes games and the way that he responds to questions, you can tell this is a guy who's very self-analytical. He's very self-reflective. He's always talking about what he could do to improve. Oh, if I do this, if I focus on this, then I'll be in a much better place next game, or I'll be in a much better place going forward. He's always doing that kind of analysis. I don't really get that from Emil Smith Rowe and Saka, right? I feel like the chat around them is more about rallying the team, is more about being positive. It's
the
more
youthful
about
naiveties that sees them do the brilliance thing. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
You've got to become more calculated the older you get.
Exactly. I feel like that the emphasis is more on the feeling and the positivity and it's still very much for them like, wow, like I'm here, man, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to play for Arsenal. You know, my family are there in the crowd watching me, so on and so forth. They're still at that stage, you know, as opposed to being in a place where it's like asking those questions.
This is the big boy leagues now.
This is the big boy leagues now. I can't still be in awe of where I'm at. Now I need to think about, right, my responsibility is this, right? Like I still think they're in awe of the number on the shirt. Smith Rowe is in awe of the 10 that he's wearing. Saka's in awe of the number 7.
And I can't blame him because it's been an amazing 10 months for Smith Rowe and 2 years or so for Saka. But this is where, and I mean, Arteta says it indirectly, but it's like, if you can get them thinking differently now, it could be brazy. Like you can see it with the way certain players talk. And for me, listen, you have to take responsibility for yourself, but I don't know if the senior players are calculated because, and I want to ask you, I don't want to drop names, but it does feel like just generally at this club, we're not necessarily honest with ourselves. Like we have a false sense of security. Now, I do think when we're playing bad, you should always look for positives. When we're playing good, you should always look for stuff to improve. But it doesn't seem like we give and take. It's almost for years, and maybe it's changed a bit under Arteta. But we might lose, you know, we might play well for 10 minutes, and then the other 80, we was poor. But the first, you know, after that, you know, we'll focus on how great the 10 minutes was. Last time I checked, it's a 90-minute game. So would you say we've got a false sense of security and probably our ability as to where we are as a football club in all other aspects?
1,000,000%. and that starts from Arteta, right? Because
I'd say so as well.
he creates this idea of us versus them, right? So even if you listen to Arteta press conferences, he often speaks about the fact that the team's together internally. We're all like this, you know what I mean? And we kind of shut out all of the negative media and press and so on and so forth. Now, in certain scenarios and in certain regards, right? That's fair. There's certain instances where you do need to have like a bit of a herd mentality, and you need to shut out the negative,
100%,
like feedback that you're getting and whatnot, and you need your players to not worry so much about what the press is saying and focus on the task at hand. I can appreciate that, but the problem is, I feel like sometimes doing that too much then creates this false sense of security where it's like, it's us versus them, even when we're being criticized, and it's justified criticism because it's a us versus them thing. It's like Arteta's like, don't worry about what people are saying. Well, in actual fact, that shouldn't be the case. You need to be objective. In the times where we've not played well, you need the players to know, it's not been good enough. It's all good and well coming out to the media and saying the thing that the media wants to hear, but that needs to then be taken and transmitted to the team. And I think that isn't clearly being transmitted to the team. I think it's more of a thing where Arteta's like, don't watch that, guys. Like we're together. It's us versus them.
Keeps talking about fighting and stuff in the second. Like, I mean, come on, you should be able to fight. You know, if you want to do anything in the Premier League, every game's a fight. And I feel where we're getting into dangerous territory with Arsenal fans is, I feel a lot of fans can see where we're at. I feel a lot of fans force narratives that you're setting yourself up for failure if you think we're going to get relegated the first half of the season, think we're going to do anything serious based on the fact that we haven't lost. We're still where we need to be. And then I feel when you look at the fact of, I personally feel football, I don't watch basketball, but it's going to get like NBA where everyone can get relegated, everyone can win everything. And we're getting slowly to that. When you look at games against Brentford, against Palace, against Brighton, teams are able to raise it. So I do think fans need to keep that in mind, recognize where Arsenal are at, and recognize that it's not about, it is about winning, but you can't win every game. But at the same time, it's scary, bro, because I look around at every team. I would have said Arsenal and Newcastle look like the teams where there's no direction. Now, Newcastle, under their new owners, you know what they're going to be on. Obviously, Arteta has, the young players, trust the process. We have looked okay. It looks like there's some building blocks. But I see off the field, I see on it, I don't know what we're about. And now when I look at Leicester's and Leeds and these sort of clubs, it's looking a bit scary, man. It's looking a bit scary for us because of what we're talking about.
100% it is. And again, going back to a point that you raised earlier, what's so scary is the fact that he didn't come yesterday. This is a man that's been at the club now for coming up 2 years now?
Yeah, 2 years, man.
So
had the first full season and then
things. You see what I'm saying? So if after all this time we still don't really clearly know what we're doing, where the direction that the club is moving in, like it's hard to like find arguments to back Arteta. Do you see what I'm saying?
Facts.
It's becoming very, very difficult to, like, people who are now talking about Arteta out and wanting him to get sacked and whatnot. It's becoming very, very difficult to find arguments to defend him, because for such a long time, the one argument that you could use was the fact that it's early days and this is the whole process and whatnot. But then when you have a case in point like Vieira at Palace, who's had to do a similar, he's had to do a similar job in a short space of time. If you look at all
the summer, bro,
you see what I'm saying? Like the number of players that got released from Palace, the number of players that we got to
remember, and this is to stay in the league as well. This ain't just the luck. People need to remember Arsenal have a luxury because of what we've done to just focus on getting back in Europe. Crystal Palace have to stay in the league now. I feel people force the narrative with Vieira. I need to see this in May, but you're 100% right, bro. You know
what I'm saying?
Difficult job.
It's so difficult, and so when you've got examples like that, it does make you shine the spotlight on Arteta even more to think, the man next door's had less amount of time, less resources, and somehow managed to make it work. So why can't you? You see what I'm saying? And that is the worrying thing, man. Is the fact that how much are things going to change? You spoke about us trusting the process and waiting until we're in a position where we where we've got the first team together and everyone is being able to play together. Well,
it's happy days.
We're in a position now where really we don't have much change. Like everyone's pretty much fit. The only one that's not fit is Granit Xhaka. Like the team is playing week in, week out with each other. We've not got.
What do you make of that as well? Because sorry to cut you, there's their old. We miss Granit Xhaka. We need him. This and that. I'm not gonna lie. Last 2 games probably did, but I'd say to that is 2 things. He's played it. He is a decent player at times. We've played in games like that. He's played poorly, and he's made those them same mistakes them 2 have made. And also, if we're in a territory or still in a territory where we've previously had David Luiz or we have Granit Xhaka and we're missing them and they're anything beyond squad players. We're not being. I'm sorry, it's not a serious club. Like I'm not a Xhaka hater or an apologist, but it's not trying to do serious things, or it's naiveties from Mikel Arteta and people above him or around him.
Bro, 100%. Firstly, the issue is that your system can't be so reliant on one player. Like it can't be. Again, this is a thing that we've raised on live streams before about the whole thing about things needing to be completely perfect for them to work, right? It can't be that one piece of the puzzle is missing and all of a sudden everything falls apart. Like if your team is structured like that, you're like it's completely wrong. You're in the wrong you're in the wrong job. What you're doing, you're in the wrong job. If everything has to be so perfect for things to work, right? And the fact also, going on that point that you raised, about basically Arteta and Edu and incompetence from them, we've seen Xhaka at the focal point of so many errors and so many mistakes, right? The guy's got red cards, made horrible challenges. He's been done it all on so many mistakes, right? The fact that we're so reliant on him isn't it's not a nod to how good he is. It's more of a damning where we are. It's a damning indictment to where we are. And the fact that we're so reliant on a player who is so error prone and we haven't addressed that, again, is on Arteta and is on Edu.
Who were also midfielders.
We should have been. Exactly. Bro, you guys have played midfield. You know what
Vieira said something last night, man.
Bro, you know what a good midfielder looks like. I don't understand why we haven't addressed that issue. And to be fair, there's even like I feel the worst is yet to come with that because in January when Party goes to the African Cup of Nations,
even though I don't think the world
as well, boy.
Scary, isn't it? Like
it's very, very scary. The thought of it is proper scaring me. I'm not even going to lie to you, bro. I actually need to go and check our fixtures in January to see what I'm. But like, I
know we got City, one of the first games opening the year.
Them things there worry me, man. I'm not even going to lie.
10 defenders, man. Just scum it, man. Just sim. You know what? You might as well forfeit. I swear you only lose 3-0 if you forfeit. It could be a cricket score, fam.
Bro, that game could be a mazzoline. I'm not even going to lie to you, bro. That could be up there. That could be collapse. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not looking forward to that, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Fam, let me ask you the last thing, before we get out of here. Obviously, it is what it is. We've lost it. Well, it felt like a loss, but we drew to Palace. Where are you at with Villa? What are you expecting with Villa? What would your lineup be for Villa?
I think predominantly I would start with the same team against Villa that started against Palace. The changes I would make, though, I think Lacazette definitely has done enough to earn a starting berth in that game. I think we looked a lot better going forward when he came on. His combination play was good. And just the energy, man, like the positive energy that he was like emitting to the rest of the team, I think definitely helps us. I think we create more or we looked like we created more when he was on the pitch. And I think we definitely will need to do that against Villa. So I would start him through the middle. And as much as I don't want to play Aubameyang on the left, I think you've just got to do it, man.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
We're
So,
hypocrites, aren't we? We speak about how much
yeah.
unbalance is the thing, and now I'm for it. Like, I'll be shameless. I'm for it in that game, man. Like you
Yeah.
said, I think let's give them a chance because they both press. I mean, that leaves one position up front. Where do you go? Is it Saka? Is it Pepe? Is it where you at with that then?
And then I'm gonna go. I guess it really depends on how bad the injury to Saka is. You know, is he okay to start in that game?
It's such a short turnaround as well.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because it's Friday. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know where I sit on that. Because on one hand, I'm like, Friday is like a perfect opportunity to like to put this game behind us and go into the next game as soon as possible.
I'm sure.
At the same time, it's like I don't really want to. It might be a bit too soon. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I saw a good point from Simigo. Gabby's time. Gabby did well in the short time that he had on the pitch yesterday. He looked encouraging. He looked.
But then,
good.
does that mean Gabby on the right? Then I don't mind it.
Yeah.
People talk about it. That means it's that or nothing. Then, because you've got
I don't want Gabby
on the right.
No way near that right. Still, no way. None of them experiment things. But that just sounds like what's it called? Willian False 9 to me.
Yeah. It sounds like it's giving me cup game vibes. Yeah. I'm shook of Villa, bro, because obviously they dropped points in calamitous fashion against Wolves. They're gonna want to hit back. If you don't understand how Benteke is as a footballer, then I don't know if you've been watching Danny Ings and the rest of the guys they've got, Jack Grealish or not. And like somebody said, they press well. The only confidence I have is that they give easy chances. And but you've got, a certain ex-goalkeeper gonna be talking all week about it, gonna talk all after it. I'm kind of scared of Villa. Obviously, we got absolutely disgraced the last time we played them, man. So, like, where are you at? Where's the midfield for you then? Because obviously the experiment with Smith Rowe and Odegaard, it didn't work. Either one has to play in the 10 and off the left, or it can't really work, can it? Really, at least in games like that. So, where are you at with that?
Boy, I think we might have to run the 4-2-3-1 thing, man, and it might just have to be Partey, Lokonga, Smith Rowe in the 10, Oba on the left, and then Saka or Pepe on the right. It is going to be a difficult one, man, because they're going to, like you said, they're going to be up for it. It's going to be difficult to deal with both Ings and my guy, what's his guy's name, man?
And all
Ollie Watkins.
Even Buendia might make it, sign himself. Ain't done too much in the Prem, but linked with Arsenal, it would be like us to let him score.
Yeah, man. And this is the other thing. So again, basically where we lost yesterday was really the midfield battle, and it just seemed as though they were up and at it. Like Conor Gallagher, the way he was pressing, man, it was mad, didn't it? And I think Villa will be the same. And it's going to be also another game where the midfield battle is so important because you've got guys like McGinn who are going to run non-stop, bro. That guy is going to be, but yeah, this is it, man. He's going to be up and down. So we need to match their energy and their intensity. Douglas Luiz is going to be at it.
Getting called up by Brazil in that now.
You see what I'm saying? Even I don't know. They might play. Is it Jacob Ramsey?
Yeah, even them young guys. Arsenal always let people make names for themselves. We always
even
do
him. He might be a player to watch out for as well, man. So I think we really and this is also why it's another very, very important game for Lokonga, man. What I feel, and when I'm looking at him, one issue that I feel like I have with Lokonga is it seems and feels like he can only play at one tempo. It feels like he's not used to it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like everything seems to be too.
It needs to be slow and slow paced, and yeah.
Like he needs to really. It's really.
You can't play like an 8 in this league if that's what you say. If that's what you want, it's a 16 or nothing for me. Based on what I'm saying. So
would
you go with a back 3 then? Because a part of me, I'm starting to feel, you know what? Obviously, if we're the way I want to improve on the ball, we're not gonna do it. Do we just go back to this counter-attacking thing? Then, like, that's how you get a Bamian. That's another way of getting a Bamian and Lacazette in the team. Maybe without imbalancing things. Maybe if there's a bit more guys flooded in the middle, there could be less calamities. You know, you could pull Tomiyasu as a centre half. You know, play a bit narrow, get a bit of confidence back. I do want to go with a back four. I don't want to change to a three, but I feel myself wanting that safety net again because I just feel myself, not that I was trusting these players, but our back five and the way it was going, I was starting to feel, all right, cool. Maybe we're learning a bit now. We're still putting our hands in the fire, but we understand it hurts at least. I don't know. I'm scared, man, because I do think in hindsight, I would have maybe went with a 3 against Palace, definitely going into the Brighton game. And as you said at the start, we're at that stage where we need to find a certified 11. People need to understand roles, etc., etc. But there's 1-2 times we need to chop and change and do little couple smart things with stuff.
No, I fully hear you. And to be fair, until you mentioned it, I didn't really consider it just because of the whole continuity thing. And I just thought, yeah, standard back four, whatever. It's what we're trying to stick to. It's what we've played for the past few games. Like, let's just stick with it. But for that point around the added security, and especially because of the fact that they're going to play 2 forwards who are an absolute nightmare. Maybe the back three thing works. The only problem that I have with it, though, is that Ben White will need to be the center of that back three. And that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, man. It doesn't, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way that we can protect him a bit more. Do you know what I mean? Like in the one-on-one battles, I trust Gabriel and I trust Tomiyasu more than I trust Ben White.
That's the thing. Who's the third centre half? It's like you could slap Tomiyasu there. I'm not really with Marie. Holding is quite good in the air, but at times I've seen him let, Sterling and Jota get, he's not marked them. So I don't know. And then again, probably if Tomiyasu plays at centre half, who plays as a wing back? And like you said, who plays centrally? Like, do you actually just play Gabriel there, play someone off the left, and then just shift Ben White to the right hand side, let him and Tomiyasu do a thing? You're right. That's probably where it fails. Lastly, what's your score prediction then? Yeah, I have to, bro. I'm gonna go with 2-1 Arsenal. I always go with it, man, until it works. But yeah, that's my tactics still.
I feel like every time I've done this year, I've been so horribly wrong, man.
That's me.
Join
the club, bro.
We're definitely conceding. That I know for
100%.
free. I can see Danny Ings getting a goal against us or McGinn. I think one of those two. And yeah, it will be, if McGinn scores again, it will just be lapsing concentration from the midfield. He's run onto something, late run. You know what I mean? Someone's not picked him up. Someone's not full tracked the run or whatever. And he's got on the end of it. Like typical. You can see it already, man. Do you see what I'm saying? But if Arteta does play Lacazette, which is what I think he's going to do, because I think Lacazette has earned the right, I am more confident in us scoring. And so
slightly.
The score prediction that you said of 2-1 makes sense because I know that they're going to score, but I do feel like Arteta playing Lacazette and playing Aubameyang does give us more of a chance. So I can see a 2-1 or I can see a 1-1. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I hope you're right, bro. I hope you're right, man. It's just blind optimism why I'm asking for a win. There's not really an educated guess. In fact, saying that we are unbeaten in 5, there might be something there to be said, man.
And it has been a few scumbag things still. Like yesterday was a scumbag thing. Yeah, Brighton
is, Burnley was, Spurs had elements of it. I mean, it's not nice. When we win, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all, fam. But boy, I can't lie. It's we've been smelly this season. We haven't played perfect football. There's been little dribs and drabs sprinkled in between what's been a mess. Let them know where they can find you, though, broski.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Mr. Murtasako's friend, by the way, folks.
You're not serious, man. I love, as always, man, to everyone who's locked in from early doors, man.
Come on.
Seeing the regulars here, man, like names that I'm getting familiar with now. So big up to all of you guys, man. Love for sharing support. Obviously, as always, love for DG for having me on the channel, man. Always a pleasure to come in and chop it up with him, man. But you can follow me, guys, on all platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, at Talk to BUJ, man. Hit me up, guys. Follow me. Also, the beautiful game, as DG alluded to, we interview different people in the game, man. Our last interview that we put out was with PEPE-MARTINELLI. We were talking to him about his what's it called? His role as like the head of the academy. We asked him about what his take on Arteta and Edu was, where he thinks we are in terms of getting back into Europe, all of those kind of things, man. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, please check that out, man. And we've got loads of other ones on there as well, man. So yeah, hit us up, man. Follow up, man. Follow up.
Come on, like he said there, man, you know, follow him on his platform. He's forgot one thing, and I always tell you lot to get onto it. He's got his own YouTube channel. He needs to be dropping his own content as well. As much as he does a beautiful game and does me the courtesy of being here, we need him on his own platform. But as you lot can see here, people, follow him up on the socials, you know, follow him on Instagram and stuff. You know, he's even been kind enough to put a link tree there, point you everywhere you need to go, people. So yeah, man. Buj, I mean, you know, I appreciate you for giving up your time. Hopefully when you're back, we get 3 points and there's something positive to waffle about, man.
Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, man. We look forward to Friday. Hopefully Saka makes a full recovery as soon as possible, man. And yeah, man. 3 points needed, bruv. Needed. Absolutely needed.
Exactly, people. You had it there. I'm going to be back again at 5:20 and then on Twitch, and then I'll be back at 7:45 over on YouTube. You got any content you want to plug, drop for them? Anything coming out in the next few days? Anything you're doing personally?
Yeah, 100%, man. Look, next time, this is a vow that I'm making live and direct.
Hey, everyone capture this happy moment.
Next time I come on DG's channel, next time I'm here, I'm gonna have content on my personal channel for you lot to check out. 100%.
Remember, people, he said that unprovoked. All the regulars, make sure you hold him accountable. Just like we go and scrutinize what Arteta says, you know, let's trust the process with Buj, and hopefully
trust the process, my people. Trust the process, man.
Oh man, but we're gonna love and leave you, people. We're out. Safe.
There's always just that active red line, defending. I think it's like